Gamers, buckle up because I think this week, this is it. This is the week, ladies and gentlemen, because in the last several hours, in the last hours, more specifically yesterday night, things are starting to blow out like crazy. That basically this is the week. If you're a Nintendo fan, you are going to be wanting to keep your very close eyes on this week, and particularly in the next under 24 hours from now. Maybe. Yeah, I would say under 24 hours. I think that's more accurate here. The reason I say that is because The Verge. Because, well, obviously, we might as well discuss how all this has come to be as we get into the news here. So, Nate the Hate has basically done a podcast just yesterday, roughly yesterday, seemed to be bringing out some details that he is hearing that Nintendo are going to reveal the Switch 2 on Thursday, which is January the 16th of Jan. So in just about 3 days time from now, we are going to be getting our first look at the Switch 2, which is the console a lot of Nintendo fans have been waiting for. And I'm sure even those who have been thinking about wanting to get a Nintendo console are probably interested in this console. So I'm sure a lot of them are very excited about the prospects of being revealed this week. Is definitely going to their interests, especially considering this is a hardware that's been, I guess you could say, the worst kept secret for some time, considering a lot of leaks have been happening about the console, even though some details are a bit sketchy than others, but it has been a very conversation point within the industry. What's particularly interesting is what The Verge says, because obviously there's a lot of articles, and we're going to talk about the Video Games Chronicles article, who have done an article about this, because many journalists have backed this up, and they're all very confident that something's happening this Thursday. So that I think it's safe to say that something's going to go down this week. I mean, I think there's no way we can deny that something's going to happen, because all these journalists are all saying the same thing. They're all saying, "Look, you're going to want to you're going to want to clear up your schedules. You want to clear up your diaries because something's about to go down." When they say that, something big's going to go down. What's particularly interesting is The Verge comes in their article, or they've done a post following their article about the whole Nintendo Switch 2 announcement happening this week, and they've even said they believe the likely sequence of events will be an announcement from tomorrow. Yes, they're very confident that we could be getting an announcement from Nintendo themselves tomorrow about this. And if they're right about this, looks like the internet's going to break tomorrow when Nintendo finally speaks up about this, because you can imagine the amount of hype as soon as they speak about it. Like, man, the internet's going to get broken. I think YouTube's going to get broken. I think the whole world's going to get broken when they finally realize Nintendo have set the words Nintendo Switch 2 on a poster. Like, yeah, that's insane. But imagine if they do. I mean, who's to say they won't do it I mean, there is always a chance they might surprise us and just put the announcement out later on today if they really want to. But if they're really going ahead with this idea of announcing it tomorrow, then hey, about time. I think it's about time that Nintendo finally shows us what this hardware is capable of. Considering there was a CEX event last week that a lot of accessory makers have already brought sort of mentioned about some of the accessories they're working on for the Switch 2, and obviously that struck a nerve on Nintendo, and that's why all the ninjas have been going after all week, because they were trying to make mock-ups of the console, which they've said themselves, Nintendo have said themselves, it's not official. So obviously when you've got Nintendo going after those people working on the accessories for the hardware, it's quite clear they were trying to keep it quiet last week just so they could reveal it this week. But hey, I'm all ready for this. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm very intrigued to see how much more powerful Switch 2 is going to be. I'm very intrigued with how the Switch 2 is going to progress. Well, how much more power this console is going to have, and also the reason I say that is because, well, many of the games that are being discussed to be coming to the Switch 2 is quite a telling list. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of third-party titles in this list that quite surprised me to be coming to the Switch 2, and I think a lot of gamers are going to be quite surprised when they see this list that's now being, seems to be corroborated by a lot of journalists, seem to be backing up the, all these different titles that are being talked about to be coming to the Switch 2. And there's a lot of third-party titles that most of us would never have thought would actually be coming to the Switch 2, but here we are. I mean, IGN's put a list of some of these games already, and some of these games include Assassin's Creed Mirage. There's even talks of a new Assassin's Creed Shadows potentially coming down the road to Switch 2, which will be quite surprising if it manages to make it there, considering the game is meant to be coming to the PS5, Series X and S and PC March now, so who's to say that by the end of the year it comes to Switch 2? There is a possibility there. And then you've also got games from The Division from Ubisoft coming, Rainbow Six Siege. Of course, it's quite obvious why they're going to put it on Switch 2 because it's cross-play. It gives them more players. And then we have Mario Rabbids, which is their collaboration with Nintendo, Ubisoft game. They also want to bring to the Switch 2. Konami obviously wants to bring Metal Gear Solid Devour, obviously relating to the remake, I would imagine, for Switch 2, which seems to make the most sense that they obviously holding back the release date because he was saving it to announce it once the Switch 2's been revealed, which would make the most sense why we haven't had an actual release date for that game yet. And then there's a number of Xbox titles also meant to be coming to the Switch 2, such as, and not just Switch 2, but also PS5. These Microsoft games are coming as well, such as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Halo Master Chief Collection. So these are just two of the games meant to be coming to Switch 2, but also coming to the PS5 at some point this year, which is going to be quite cool to see them on that hardware. But yeah, like I said, there's quite a bit of third-party titles and also there's even talks about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth potentially coming to the Switch 2 from Square Enix. First of them being the remake is meant to be coming this year, and then the Rebirth coming out the following year, which is amazing. It's just amazing. And especially Rebirth in particular, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a PS5 exclusive, and from all the conversations about the Switch 2 is that it's meant to be close to PS4 power. And if that's the case, how the hell is it able to run the Rebirth game? That tells me it's obviously more powerful than a PS4 if it's able to run that title on a handheld device. So that right there clearly tells me added more power recently to this hardware than what has been previously rumored in regards to its capabilities of certain games. So it sounds to me like they've been putting more power to this hardware than what's previously been discussed, which is incredible if they have, because it basically opens the door to games like GTA 5 or maybe even GTA 6 to eventually come to Switch 2. I mean, who's to say both GTAs make their way to the hardware, or even Call of Duty, for instance? I mean, there's been this conversation with Phil Spencer about wanting to bring Call of Duty back to Nintendo. So who's to say Switch 2 wouldn't be the starting point of Call of Duty's arrival back to Nintendo by making maybe the latest Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, available on a handheld device? I mean, imagine that being a selling point right there for Switch 2. That would be huge. For a handheld device to finally have the latest Call of Duty on there would be massive. It would definitely give COD fans a new way of playing Call of Duty for sure. I mean, I'll be intrigued to see how many Call of Duty players would play on a Switch 2 Call of Duty. I think a lot would be interested in checking it out. But yeah, it's crazy. The possibilities of the third-party titles that could come to this hardware would be crazy. It's bound to be the craziest lineup I've ever seen ever of a handheld device, and it's crazy hearing all these potential third parties that are being potentially ported to Switch 2 is just incredible. And I think that list is bound to grow over the coming months for sure, because this is only just the beginning, guys. This is just the beginning of what is potentially possible for Switch 2, if this is indeed the lineup we're going to see over the course of the year. But yes, so essentially, but in terms of what we can expect in the Switch 2 reveal, which is looking very likely to be happening this Thursday, is essentially they to be a two-part reveal. So essentially, the reveal we're going to get this week is going to be more focused on them finally revealing the hardware and all the capabilities that Switch 2 is going to have. So all the new, I guess, the new features of what the hardware is going to be capable of. And I wouldn't be surprised if they will show some games running on the screen, because obviously they're going to tease some of those games in this presentation. It makes the most sense. But yeah, so I would imagine they're going to show some of the new features of terms of like all the different technological features that Switch 2 is going to provide, which will give us a lot of new gaming opportunities for the Switch 2, and new ways to engage with the hardware will definitely be quite interesting to look at and see what's possible on the Switch handheld. I mean, it'll be quite intriguing to see whether they're going to support 4K, whether they're going to support 1080p resolution. I would imagine they will, and then you've got possibilities of how backwards compatibility games are going to look on this. Are they going to look 10 times better than they do on the current Switch? I'd be very intrigued to learn about that part. So yeah, so that's going to be essentially what we can expect on the first reveal, and then there's meant to be another reveal that's going to take place either next month or early March, which is going to be more focused on the games. The games reveal are going to take place. So this is where they're going to want to reveal, obviously, many of third-party and first-party titles that they are working on for the Switch 2. This would be where they would announce the Ubisoft stuff, the Square Enix stuff, the Konami stuff, the Take-Two stuff, the Rockstar stuff, even stuff from Xbox, maybe even some stuff from PlayStation that might come to Switch 2 this year. I mean, that's if Sony are willing to allow Nintendo to show any stuff they're working on for Switch 2, which will be interesting to see if they are working on some stuff for the Switch 2, considering we know Sony likes to take their time in revealing stuff, and usually it's on their platform rather than Nintendo, but you never know. They might surprise us. And then you've got all these other developers like Bethesda, and you've got Bethesda, Warner Brothers. I mean, who's to say Warner Brothers shows up and reveals some games for the Switch that are going to be ported to Switch 2, like Hogwarts Legacy, for instance. There's an opportunity there for them to port it over, but there's a lot of so we're bound to see a lot of developers in the game in a direct dedicated to Switch 2 games, which is pretty much how they're hoping to handle the game reveals for Switch 2. And then of course Nate the Hate seems obviously is very confident in believing, or seems to speculate the idea of the Switch 2 coming around May or June this year, which actually does match up with what Video Games Chronicles and all the other journalists seem to be hearing, is that the console is due around May or June this year, which would mean that not too long after the game reveals take place, that's when we're going to start seeing the handheld being made available for the first time publicly. And then obviously they're going to want to reveal some games for the end of the year as well that are going to come out in time for Christmas, and that will boost the sales for Switch 2 for the Christmas season, because we all know the console is going to definitely be in some people's wish lists for Christmas for sure. Like I said, a lot of things are definitely going down for Switch 2, and it's definitely, I'm very intrigued to see what's going to come out from all this, because I mean, I feel, what's going to be revealed in terms of hardware capabilities and just how powerful this console is going to be, especially now that we're now hearing that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to the Switch 2, this is a PS5 game going to a handheld device. Surely that has to mean it's going to be matching closely to PS5 power, right? Surely that's what that means. But we'll find out soon enough, because I mean, we ain't going to have that long to wait to see just how crazy the Switch 2 is going to be in terms of its power and its capability, and just how much support in terms of third parties this console is going to have in 2025. I would imagine it's going to be massive. I would imagine we're going to see games that you would never thought would come to a Switch is going to end up coming to Switch in 2025, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the theme we're going to see with Switch 2 going forward over the course of the year and even beyond. But regardless, though, I'm ready. I'm ready to see this handheld device, and I can't wait for them to this week. So I mean, it's all down to Nintendo now. It's up to them to finally announce the event, and hopefully, it seems very confident. I think it's very confident to believe that they are going to announce this event tomorrow, considering every journalist seems to be hearing the same thing. So it's looking very, very solid so far that we're gonna finally get to see this thing in all its glory, and the thing that Nintendo fans have been waiting for. It looks like it's definitely happening this week, and it's definitely a good sign that big things are coming for the brand especially for Switch fans in 2025, and it might be as like I said, just a hint of things to come in 2020 throughout the course of the year for the brand, and I'm sure it's going to lure some new customers this year. I have no doubt to believe it. So that is at least some piece of news that's come through regarding the Switch 2 and what we can expect when the Switch 2 will finally get its reveal this week, which is going to be insane to finally see that. All right, now we're moving on to some other pieces of news, and that is that we finally have another game announced for 2025. The PGA Tours 2K25 has been set for the 28th of February. This is the first sports game from 2K to be announced for this year, and obviously they've got another one coming in 2 weeks' time, which will be this year's WWE 2K25 that will be hopefully be releasing during the first half of the year. So we're going to hopefully be hearing some more details about WWE 2K25 the 28th of January, 28th, 27th of January, where we'll get our first look at the new WWE game from 2K, which will be their next sports game reveal for 2025. Now, along with this, we did get another game that's been announced, which is also a game that you could say is going to come out in time for Easter, and that is called Rusty Rabbit. It's coming out on the 17th of April, just not even that long before Easter it releases, and it's an action game from NetEase and Natural Plus. It comes to PS5 first on the 17th of April. There hasn't been any other platforms announced for this, but it's got a voice actor from UC and Like a Dragon who's going to be voicing the main character for this game, which gives you a taste of, well, at least gives you a somewhat of a voice you're going to be hearing during this game. And it's like I said, it's a new action adventure game from NetEase. It's going to have a bit of a Japan language in there as well, because they will have some Japan language available in this game, as well as an English version as well. So you will be able to get your hands on this just before Easter, as this is going to be one of the games releasing around that time. So big win. Now, there's also been a trademark for I guess you could say, a classic game from the past. This is a game that was trademarked in Japan, and it's referring to a classic game called Ego the Dolphin. Ego, so that's the name of the dolphin character video games past. It looks as though that game is apparently set for a new title in 2025. There's been definitely been a lot of chatters about the potential of this character getting a new game in the near future, considering this is one of the longest reigning Japan franchises, and there's even been talks recently that Microsoft are going to be announcing a longest running Japan gaming franchise that's going to be returning potentially this year. And it seems as though that, it looks like Eco the Dolphin might be making a potential return to video games this year, and it could very well look like that this character might finally get a new game after years of waiting, which, funny enough, Sega are also sort of reissued or trademarked Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Samurai, Golden Axe, and Street of Rage. They've all been had their trademarks renewed recently, so there is talks about them also coming potentially, maybe even this year, maybe even next year, depending on when Sega are hoping to release these titles. It's at least a good sign. Another game from the past, from the PlayStation 2 days, is going to be potentially getting a brand new entry in 2025, and it's going to be probably one of the mystery game that Microsoft could be announcing next week, which is going to be crazy to see the first of Sega's original games it's being the first to have its new game release in 2025. Quite a moment for Sega indeed, to see one of their old franchises returning in 2025. Now, of course, as well as this, we did hear some talks about the the Oblivion remake, which is the Elder Scrolls 4 remake that's been heavily talked about. It seems as though it's not just going to be a graphics upgrade, it's going to be a full gameplay overhaul. Obviously it's now claimed in a now removed website from a former developer that housed all the kind of information from the yet unannounced revive. This is referring to an ex-Viral employee that Viral being the company that's supposedly behind the remake, supposedly confirmed that as a year has been fully remade, lists a number of, and they kind of listed a number of reworked game elements that includes combat and stealth, to name some of the reworks they're currently working on for this remake, which is sounding very, it's going to definitely sound like it's sounding very close to what Demon Souls went through when they remade that. They sort of made the game a little bit more kind of modernized it a slight. It sounds to me like that's what they're trying to achieve with this remake when they finally get this remake going through, which is definitely at least it sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds good to know that they're updating the graphics to meet the gamer's needs of today, really. And there's even talks that an immediate reveal might be right around the corner. And if it's indeed coming sooner than we think, yeah, we might be getting some news soon, rather soon, from Xbox about this. I'll be very intrigued to see how good this game looks in 2025 with all these new changes in place, should it all plan out. Hopefully it will. Now, alongside this, we did also get a little sneak peek of Ghost of Utah, who started a new big budget marketing campaign called Create Your Way, which Sony are working on with real creators. And essentially this is, I guess you could say, it covers Sony's technical driven base across movies, photograph, music, audios, and of course the video games, and Ghost of Utah, which is the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima's sequel, is obviously being referred to as an upcoming project with an artist from Sucker Punch obviously talking about a lovely screenshot that they show off in this video as well. And also the fact this open world sequel is going to be a part of the key parts of Sony's immediate plan. PS5 exclusives is, and after all, set to release this year with no doubt, which of course it's going to lead to more in the near future. But it's interesting to see that this game is definitely being labeled as a part of their immediate plans, which we don't know what those plans are going to be, but it definitely sounds like they're pushing this game in 2025 to be some massive, if indeed that's what they're hoping to achieve with the sequel of Ghost of Tsushima. I would imagine it will be pushing towards that goal. We'll see if it does. Then we also, obviously, for all the people who have Baldur's Gate 3, the good news is that patch 8 is still coming. Developers are turning a full attention to the next project as well. So patch 8 is going to be the last update that you're going to see for Baldur's Gate 3, which is going to include cross-play functionality, full photo mode, a brand new subclass for existing characters, but it's coming soon. That's all. And also players are going to be able to test it this month as well, and they're already working on their next project, was finishing off this patch 8 for Baldur's Gate 3, which is what they're finishing off at the moment. And then along with this, we did get promised that Phantom Blade Zero is going to be getting has confirmed a new gameplay deep dive. That deep dive is going to be coming on the 21st of January at around 8 p.m. PST. That's when they're going to show some more gameplay of Phantom Blade Zero, which is obviously hinting that this game is due in 2025, or hopefully going to be due in 2025. So fingers crossed, this is the year we are going to see Phantom Blade Zero finally make its way to the PS5 for those of us who are anxious, who are eager to play this game. Hopefully, it's not going to be too long now until we can finally get our hands on it. And then we found out also that Fortnite Festival is now adding local co-op now, so that's good news for anybody who wants to do local co-op. You can now do that in Fortnite Festival, which is now starting to make its way into that version of Fortnite. Should you want to do local co-op play. And speaking of Fortnite, there's even talks that Devil May Cry could be coming, might be even having a crossover with Fortnite this year, so we might see Devil May Cry characters come to Fortnite in 2025 as part of Epic's ongoing multiverse. The Capcom's Icon IP is coming soon, so it looks like Devil May Cry comes to Fortnite later in the year potentially, which would be huge. And then we also found out some very sad news that the team behind Godfall, Counterplay Games, has apparently shut down. It was reported that the developer has been disbanded following the I guess you could say following the not so following the fact that Godfall they even concluded here by saying if everything Godfall has to offer was good as a satisfying combat system, we're looking at a down good PS5 launch game. However, in reality, the only thing that has to boost about is the included loot system, recycled environments, and a frustrating missions structure that for anything of sort enjoyment of the game might offer. So that's pretty much what they concluded with. But yeah, it's quite sad that the studio was disbanded last month after working Jacksonville Games on the project. So unfortunately, that studio will no longer be working on games because they're no longer existing, which is really sad. As I mentioned earlier, Halo. As I mentioned earlier, Xbox are bringing some games to the PS5. Halo Master Chief Collection, Microsoft Flight Simulator, even God of War 1 Ultimate Edition, Hellblade 2's being mentioned, Age of Mythology, as some of the upcoming multi-platform games that are going to be coming potentially to the PS5 in terms of Xbox multi-platform plans for this year, including Doom, The Dark Ages, and Outer Worlds 2, which are other upcoming Microsoft games that are set to be arriving on the PS5 during the year, which is going to be, so at least that just gives you a bit of a taste of some Xbox games that will be arriving on the PS5 this year alone. And speaking of, for those of you who want to sign up to try out the Night Rain, Elden Ring, you can sign up right now. There'll be a link in the description should you want to sign up and be ready. And by the way, it takes place between the 14th to the 17th of February, and they've released time slots, which these are the time slots if you're wondering what the session times are for the network test of Night Rain for Elden Ring. And then on top of this, we got another alternative look at Atomfall, which is the gameplay overview trailer for this game. Obviously, the game comes out in March the 27th, and it gave us a glimpse at some of the combats and useful weapons and items that we're going to be seeing. So at least it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you, and also the fact that we have red phone boxes and cozy village pub, military robots and stuff, just some things to keep an eye on if you're looking to play Atomfall this March, which I'm certainly am, and I think this game is going to be fun. The fact that it's set in the UK. Also, recently, Assassin's Creed Shadows had its first expansion leaked, which you can see in the link in the description. I won't discuss any further about that, but it's meant to have at least 10 hours worth of content. At least that's what they said, following the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows will indeed be delayed until the 20th of March. That's the new release date for Assassin's Creed Shadows, if you haven't heard about the delay recently. The House of the Dead 2 remake is also getting a release this spring. This is another classic arcade game, action game, getting an update in 2025. There's even a updated AI limited PS5 demo that's now, as pre-orders have gone live for the game's release on the PS5, which is coming out on the 27th of March. So you can now get your pre-orders in if you want to. And then we've also got, so that's at least some of the details of some of the upcoming stuff for PlayStation. In terms of Xbox news, obviously we know that the Xbox Developer Direct is happening next week, so we've got that to look forward to. And then we've also got a surprise update for Dishonored 2 that's happened. Obviously, it wasn't anything big or exciting, but they had an update regardless. And there's even an unannounced Bethesda game that's being talked about to be coming not only to Xbox Series X, PS5, but even the Switch 2, potentially. So, so apparently a multiple Bethesda games have been listed for Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo platforms, which they listed it as number 11, and a lot of people are wondering what could this be referred to. So we'll see what this means, obviously, but it could mean anything really of what these games could potentially be for the Switch, Xbox Series X, and PS5. A lot of people that believe it's going to be Doom: The Dark Ages, but you never know. It could be anything at this point. So it's any potential guess could be lined up. And then we've also had some details about there's also been a little bit more disappointment regarding the Series X and S stock that's surprisingly low levels in multiple UK retailers, which definitely doesn't look very good for Xbox sales. Which, yeah, so stocks drops very, very low. Surprising indeed that Xbox is starting to sell out again, which is very interesting. The fact that Series X and S and Series X stock is running out, but they are hoping to hopefully they're going to sort out that problem soon. Hope. And then also Xbox are hosting a buy one get two free for their indie sale. Should you want to get free indie games right now on the Xbox Store. It's as part of their multiple sales that are going on. And there's even two games that have joined Xbox today, which is the classic Diablo for PC, as well as EA Sports UFC 5 that are going to be coming to Game Pass later today. So these are some games coming to Xbox Game Pass as part of their big update for 2025. But apart from that, really, I think, and there's even been a lot of talks about the possibility that maybe Nintendo Switch 2 could appear on Xbox's developer direct, as there's been a lot of conversation that, maybe there's been a lot of interesting conversation about Xbox mentioning the system during the developer direct, and if they do, then it could lead to the possibility that Nintendo Switch 2 might get a shout out on Xbox developer direct next week, which would be quite surprising indeed. In fact, there's even potential of Sea of Thieves coming to the Switch 2 as well this year. So that might be another game that could also be coming to Switch 2 this year, should they decide to announce maybe even announce it potentially for a 2025 release for the Switch 2. Well, who's to say that wouldn't happen? Because I mean, this is either way, it is Xbox. They like to surprise people. So who knows? But either way, a lot of things to look forward to, obviously, this week. And I think the main thing to focus on is the fact Nintendo are going to finally have their time to shine before Xbox have their moment next week, revealing their first set of games for 2025. And hopefully Sony will follow after that. But in the meantime, however, I think most of the things are mostly focused around the Switch 2 reveal, which is happening this week. So be sure to stay tuned and look out for my reaction video and some news updates about the Switch 2 later this week. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later this week with news about the Switch 2 hardware. See you then.